Welcome.
This is the first bi-weekly.
Oh yeah, it is.
Which is new because we didn't even realize how fast 2 weeks goes by. I think that's dad scheduling, isn't it? It's just
so fast. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't even pay attention. This week's topic, Ryan will go into a bit more detail, but this week's topic is Dadable. What is Dadable?
Yeah. So Dadable, gonna give you a quick breakdown. Is a wonderful way of describing games can be played as a dad. It is able to be played by a dad. Dadable. And let me, I don't have my bifocals with me, but I'm going to read off this list that I have of what makes a game dadable.
Hey, what's it?
When you get to be our age, like, and have kids, remembering the things that you have said and like thought of in the past. It's just, you have these moments of brilliance, and if you don't write them down, they're gone.
Yep.
So
true.
I had a moment of brilliance in which I understood what made a game dadable, and I wanted to share it with you. So Dustin kind of agreed. I sent this to him. So
yeah.
So number one, how quickly can you get started? 2, is it kid friendly? 3, how long is it? 4, can you pause it? And then 5, do you need to pay close attention to it? So we're going to talk about all of this in detail in just a minute.
On this episode of Just Chatting with True Dad Material. That's where the music is.
Yep.
We don't have a live band yet.
Also working on it, but none of our kids are really skilled at instruments yet. At music in general. I've got a couple with potential with the piano.
So.
A lot of rhythm in my family. I'm a drummer. I apparently passed that down well.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Coordination and following directions. Not there yet.
My kids play the skull drum.
The soul drum.
Skull drum.
Oh, skull drum.
Skull drum. Yeah, it's not a Icelandic weapon. No, it's actually where they beat you in the head with whatever toy they're currently wielding. It's called the skull drum. Yeah, I don't know about tempo or anything, but they know how to play. So
well, there's that.
Anyways, so our topic today, dadable.
Dadable.
It's a word we made up.
Yep.
And like Ryan said, it's in its bare necessities. Is it dad worthy? Can dad safely? I should say play it, because being gamers, we can obviously play just about anything.
Yeah. Whether
we're good at it or not.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much.
So as we've kind of discussed this a little bit, as fathers, as husbands, our game time it's become more confined to specific times of the day or less frequent. And so as more constraints are put on our game time, like we could play Borderlands or Witcher 3 or Monster Hunter or something after our kids go to bed, if our wives are busy. We could play any sort of game that might scare a child normally, or that might have inappropriate
like
content. Yeah.
Terrifying.
Oh gosh, those blocks. Creepers. And it's just, if you want to play games more often, you kind of have to start making some changes. And most of those changes, I think, we've consolidated into the word dadable.
Yep.
So let's start just kind of talking about what these different elements are, a little bit about each one, and then let's give some examples of games.
Yeah.
And then we can rate them on their dadability.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yeah. So number one, like you said, how quickly? I don't have bifocals on. But this phone is close enough to my face that I can still read it. So
all right. Are you nearsighted?
I am actually. You probably wouldn't be surprised how nearsighted I am. Kid you not. For those of you listening and not watching, you won't be able to understand this. But if my hand were this close to my face, it would still be blurry.
Wow.
If I didn't have my contacts in.
Wow.
Those of you who have prescriptions, I have a negative 8.5 in both eyes. That's bad.
Okay, I was gonna say I've never had glasses.
Yeah. No, readers are like -1. Those are like a strong reader.
Oh.
Yeah. So like when you're old and you're like, I need readers, they have 1/8 of what I have. So really, at the ratio I'm going, I'll be blind by the time I'm 50. It's gonna be wonderful.
Well, Yep.
Anyways, back to what we were saying. How quickly can you get started? AKA learning curve.
Story complexity was another element I thought of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot, I think, in just how quickly you can get started into something. Because I don't know if you're a reader and you pick up a book, if that book doesn't grip you in the first chapter or give you something to motivate you to keep reading, it's not going to happen. YouTube would be a great example.
Sure.
You may be watching this on YouTube.
Yeah.
And if you are, that, well, I mean, if you've made it this far in, you probably don't know. But if you don't hook the viewer in like 2 to 5 seconds, you're basically not going to get any sort of reach on the platform. And if you don't, so there's a metric that is really important to Google, and it's how many people are watching. What percentage of people are watching 30 seconds in?
Yep.
And we have a video that's 90%, but which is awesome. It's a Subnautica
it's
episode 1.
It's our how-to.
It's not the how-to.
Oh, it's not. It's the
first episode 1. Yeah, crazy, right?
Wow.
People love Subnautica. So, but just the beginning of it. So
apparently.
Again, so you basically, if it takes a while to get into what's important, and there's not a draw like our faces or just general personalities to keep people hooked the whole time, then you lose people. And so if a game for someone who doesn't have a lot of time, or who is constantly being pulled in different directions, to deal with other things, takes a long time to learn the story, to get invested, to pick up the mechanics, to understand the gameplay, or if it keeps introducing new things over and over again, Tales of Arise, then it becomes less Dadable. Yeah.
See, this is why we use this term, because it can just be like, we're trying to find the right word, and then we're like, Dadable. It makes sense.
It's perfect. Very versatile.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And games, there's a lot of games out there that are not easy to pick up. A lot of those are going to be, maybe they have really long intros. Most of their gameplay is cutscene that can't be skipped, or it heavily requires you to read. That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going. I can't see it because my prescription's not farsighted. Sorry. I need to bring up the chat on my phone.
I pay good money for these old man contacts. Yeah. So if it's, mostly like reading dialogue that you have to read in order to understand what the game is, might not be the most easy to pick up. One for instance, I really like, and we actually just did a rapid review on it. I don't know if you saw it. I did my
Children of Morta. Oh,
it was my attempt at a movie trailer voice.
Yeah,
not that great, but it's all right. It was fun.
It was peppy.
It was peppy. Anyways, one thing I enjoy about that, great story, right? But you could get right into it, and you didn't have to pay attention to the story. You could literally just go through the game and play, and go dungeon delving.
Yeah,
and you're fine.
There are some actions or behaviors that really annoy me in gaming, particularly when I'm gaming with someone else. And like if they just rapid skip through all the dialogue, I'm like, okay, well, I was playing the game for the story, but I guess I don't get any of that now. Or people that just like rush through to the next thing because they've played it a million times and they just want to show off how awesome they are. Not cool.
Yep.
But I think in this game, the story is like, it is engaging. It's good. It's well written, but it's not important to the enjoyment of the game. I think for anyone, you don't need to understand the story to get the gameplay, to get the start to finish game. So it's nice if you have the time, if you have the attention to put toward it, if you want to watch through it. But it's not essential. And that increases datability in my book.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and actually there were some other things, specifically with Children of Morta that actually decreased its datability, which, I covered in that very briefly. Obviously, you only have 60 seconds to say a lot of different things, but we'll cover that. We'll cover that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot to say about being able to just pick up a game and play. I think the old school arcade style games really had it, as silly as it is to say, they were very datable.
They were.
Because, any Mario game, you press start, one player, okay, you're already playing. Mm-hmm. There's no story there. Shoot, even the new Marios, now there's a story. Bowser's stolen Peach, and you have to go, which that's really not that much story, but it's still, they've implemented more and more. So all that to say, item number one on the Dadability list is learning curve.
Yeah.
Easy. How easy is it to pick up?
Yeah. Yeah. And number two, incredibly important.
Yep.
Arguably number one, but we did this in kind of no particular order, just as it came to my mind. But number two is kid friendly. Is this something that you could play in front of or with your kids, or something that your kids could play?
Yeah.
I think this is incredibly subjective. I mean, so any dad, may have different opinions. I've seen dads playing, Skyrim in front of their kids and not having any issues. Or I guess it would have been Oblivion back then. But like there are not all dads are going to agree on what's appropriate and what's not. So for us, I think we have very similar, opinions. Yep. And we don't really want anything scary, super gory.
Yeah, no jump scares for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And my kids, I was playing Costume Quest 2, which is like kids trick or treating.
Yeah. Like pretty straightforward.
Cartoony. I thought they would think it was cute and funny.
Yeah.
One of the costumes scared my kids. It was a pterodactyl.
Okay.
And my kids were like, I don't know, 3 and 4 at the time, something like that. And I just had the two of them, or one was Brandy Baby or something. And I had to stop playing it because it was scaring one of the kids.
Huh.
So
I never would have guessed.
It can change over time as well. My kids really enjoy Spyro, but sometimes even the bad guys in Spyro can scare them.
Yeah. This is true. Yeah. And some of the, every kid's different for sure. My 5-year-old is not scared by much of anything. I mean, he's at the point where he could go through the Lord of the Rings, the entire Lord of the Rings, and be like, wow, that was awesome. I really, that was awesome. And he'll talk about it. We haven't watched it because of my 2-year-old.
Yep.
Because we watched what is it, Polar Express, right? With Tom Hanks, who voice acts like half of the movie, right?
Yes, he does marvelously.
He does really. I think it's a great movie. But the very beginning scene when the train's driving by and it's shaking the walls, she was absolutely terrified. Yeah. I mean, to the point where she was like crying and holding on to me, and I was like, there is no way you're scared of a Christmas movie. She was.
My 4-year-old was that way.
Yeah.
Well, she's 5 now, but when she was 4, last year we watched Polar Express, and she was terrified of most of the movie.
Really?
But it was less terrified, I think, more overwhelmed.
Okay.
So younger kids struggle to process emotions the same way we do, by like suppressing them and just keeping them all inside. It's a joke. But they like, if there are big feels, it's overwhelming. They don't know how to deal with it. So a lot of times they react in fear and scream and cry, even if it's like happy or romantic movies. My oldest, 7 years old, will still get up and run to hide behind a wall in the hallway and look out at the TV if there's like a romantic scene or something in a Disney movie.
I just hope it stays like that for
right?
at least, 11
another 20 more years. Yeah.
20 is a bit, but
19, 19 years. Yeah. So it's, it differs by child. It differs by age.
Yep.
Not every dad is going to feel the same. Some dads may want to expose their kids to more things and exposure therapy.
Sure.
We're, as Christians, I think, there's a lot, like, I don't view fear as a good thing. I view fear as a negative thing that makes one more susceptible to, negative spiritual influence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're not going to debate theology on this, but I just don't like it. I don't like horror films. I don't like horror games, really. I mean, the odd zombie shooter is fun.
I think, and that's the thing. I think, we're called scripturally not to have a spirit of fear.
Yeah.
I mean, very, very directly. I mean, very direct. And so I think, going into it to be afraid is probably not, that's not the right way to go about it. I think and I'm with Ryan. I don't like horror games. I don't like scary games. there are a few games that are, quote unquote party games where you play with groups and like, it's fun because like you're getting you're scaring each other, and it's like this is a fun thing. It's not a terror thing. It's not you getting your heart racing and you don't know, like you're in a room alone in the dark playing this scary game.
Right.
It's a very different situation. And like Ryan said, I mean, younger kids don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
If honestly, if circumstances are great, they probably don't understand fear because they haven't experienced it. So to experience it in a game that's already visually, and audibly, that's the word. Dadable. It's already stimulating, right? To then experience this fear, it's that much more intense, right? Yeah. So obviously there's going to be plenty of dads that disagree with us as far as what they feel is dadable when it comes to what games to play. Ours would be you can pretty much only play Minecraft for 20 minutes at a time.
Yep.
And no, I think there's a good solid list. A lot of it, surprisingly, I think more indie games are dadable than more mainstream games. And I think a lot of this is, probably because of where the world's going, but a lot of the indie games are usually heavier art style driven. They're more story driven because they're a smaller team, maybe.
Yeah.
And so a lot of their focus isn't going to be on drawing crowds that want to play Call of Duty and shoot each other. Their focus is going to be on, the experience of the game. Yeah. Right. And so there's going to be a lot of those. I just finished today. I just finished Ori and the Blind Forest. There is violence in that game. And
it can be scary. There's some intense moments.
And a lot of it's musically, like cinematically driven, right?
My kids got scared just listening to the soundtrack.
Yeah, which is fair because like it literally is meant to make you feel that. You're supposed to feel anxiety while you're playing it. Like, and there were a couple of moments where, like, obviously I can separate that. But like the first time through, I was like, okay, this is intense. I'm kind of like clenching and like, But the game itself, story-wise, combat-wise, it's not gory.
Right.
It's very clean and artistically done. And I'm not just saying that like some people say, adult cinematography is, it's art. No, it's not. That's not art. This is actually like very colorful and is appealing to the eye, right? There's other aspects of it that draw it away from, I guess, the violence or the fear of it, right? Yeah. It's a very peaceful game, surprisingly.
It really is, yeah.
Especially considering the story of it, it's a very peaceful game, right? Yeah. So those are games that we would deem kid worthy.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you may think a game is kid worthy or dadable, in this aspect, kid friendly, and then you play it in front of your children, like Costume Quest. You play it in front of your children, and your children are scared by it. And that's when you still, it's wise to adapt.
Yeah.
Sometimes that adaptation is okay. Well, if you're scared, get out. But that doesn't always work, And if you're playing in the living room of your home and your children are there with you, wanting to spend time with you, telling them to get out is not always the best dad move. So, you may need to pick your battles. Like, sometimes you just want to play games. But you can play what they are able to watch, what they want to watch. Sure. And there are some really fun games that are totally kid friendly.
Yeah.
My kids were scared a little bit when playing because of the fear of getting hurt, but really enjoyed watching Ukulele. Which is the Banjo-Kazooie ripoff.
Yeah.
That mentions in the game, like, directly Banjo-Kazooie. Like, they don't say Banjo-Kazooie, but they talk about Bear and Bird, and like, it's pretty funny.
It's a very direct ripoff.
Yes.
But it's still a fun game.
It's a very fun game, because Banjo-Kazooie was a fun game.
Yeah, it's a fun game.
They also enjoy watching that, and we're not scared of the Witch or anything, so.
Interesting.
I know. You can't always predict what your kid's going to be scared of.
They just knew that it was a bad witch, and they didn't have to be scared.
Well, they have in-laws.
Got him. Anyways, so that's great. I think the next on our list is how long is it?
Yeah.
And that can be huge because some games, and even in this note that we've got here, don't have an end.
Yeah.
MMOs, for instance.
Yeah.
For those of you who still call all video games Nintendo, that's a
A massive multiplayer
online game. Okay, so that basically means everyone's online. There might be a story, but it's more so you're living a second life. You have all these skills, you have all these things that you're going and doing, and
and the whole point is to just continuously play the game, experience the world, and then socialize with others. And we have to do that in real life, so our viability of doing that in games decreases significantly over time.
Absolutely.
So I think, is there an end? Like, is there a likelihood of beating it? Sometimes people don't play games to beat them, but there are a lot of other reasons, which we'll get into later, that have to do with like where you can just get in and play the game and experience it and enjoy it, and you don't have to beat it. And there are a lot of gamers who love that. There are some games where I'm playing it to experience the story arc, to experience the progression of the game up to a certain point. And if you want to play a game with no end, get a mobile app. And regulate your time.
Of them,
and it's just the whole point is just keep you on it so they can make money from ads or from in-game purchases or whatever. I don't actually recommend getting those. They're bad for dads.
They're not dadable. I'd say probably 90 to 95% of mobile app games are not dadable.
And not for all of these reasons quite so much. It's just that they're addictive and they take you away from your kids. And they make you more likely to be grumpy at your kids because of what we talked about last episode. If you haven't seen it, click on the link wherever it is.
We'll put it somewhere.
I think how long a game is does affect its datability, because if you can start a game and beat the game within, a month, a year, a month or a couple months, of playing, or even a couple of weeks, that is immensely more enjoyable than if you just stay at the same level, or the whole point is to just grind. Because there's resolution, and you're not playing it. You don't necessarily get roped into playing it to feel progression. Which can, again, like we talked about last week, it can be addicting and can replace drive in real life where things matter. So I think, there are some games where I would play them and I would just be going through the same thing over and over again, and eventually stop playing them.
Absolutely.
Because I wasn't moving forward in the story. And sometimes that's my fault because I enjoyed the rest of the game so much.
The side quests.
The
notorious side quests.
Oh, gosh. Hogwarts Legacy. I haven't played that in ages.
Skyrim. Skyrim was the same way.
Yep. But
the thing about MMOs, I actually grew up playing RuneScape, if that gives you any time era of when I was a gamer. I'm still a gamer, but when I started, RuneScape, there's absolutely no story. It is purely quest driven or mission driven, whatever you want to call it. The thing with RuneScape being that's the case, since there's no main goal, right? You automatically create a goal for yourself. Whether you know it or you verbalize it or write it down or whatever, you're going to create one. And usually it's, well, I need to be better than that guy. I'm level, I don't know, I'm level 30. I just saw level 45 walk by me. I gotta be at least that strong, right? And then you become level 45 and there's a level 60 that just walk past you. So it becomes this like never ending cycle of, well, I just have to be better. Well, then the problem becomes when you hit the max level and you go, I just wasted 3 years of my life. And for what? Like, I didn't even experience anything. Like, I don't have a story element to take home. I don't have like that was a fun experience, because probably 8 months in, maybe even less than that, the fun experience left, and all that was there was a drive to be better or a drive to complete. Another really popular right now, and also just as tempting, is Warframe.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how familiar you are with Warframe. I actually started playing that when it was still an open beta.
Oh wow, yeah.
And so they now call them seasons and whatever they are, but before they had seasons, I was playing it.
Yeah.
And they still had plenty, the thing with Warframe, obviously war is in the name, so the concept is you're going to have all these weapons, you're going to have all these different characters, which they call frames. It's, all terms. But the thing is, you got to get all of them. I mean, you can't just have what you have. I mean, yeah, I'm good with what I have, but like I have to have all of them, right?
Yeah, I wonder what it's like to play with that one. I wonder what it's like to play with that one. Oh, that one looks cool.
Oh yeah, well, and Joe Schmo just told me that this weapon's way better than the one I got. I gotta build that.
Right.
Well, the issue with that is you're stuck in that same box. There's nothing being completed as much as I just need the next thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so the whole point of, having the entertainment to enjoy, to sit down, take time, play whatever game you're going to play, and then get back to whatever you're doing because you had your enjoyment is gone. Because as soon as you leave, say you only had 2 hours to play or an hour to play, whatever that looks like. An hour goes by, you go, wow, I really didn't actually do anything. But then almost 20 minutes goes by after that, and you go, I can't wait to play that next so that I can get whatever.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And whether you get it the next time you play it or not, it doesn't matter. You're immediately going to go back to, I really wish I could play that right now because, I didn't get whatever. I didn't finish completing this, or I didn't obtain this.
Right. Or it felt good to make that progress that I made. It's like why it's so easy to get wrapped up in like Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
There are so many things to do and focus on. Like, I just had to drop everything I was doing and start doing the storyline, or I was going to do what I did with the Hogwarts Legacy and just quit it.
Just pure side quests.
Yeah, because there's so much you can do. And then it's just, I'm just going to go over to that thing. And, what's that? I'm going to go over to that thing. And then, before you know, you've played for like 3 hours and not done anything productive.
Haven't done anything.
And so, you can end up staying up too late. You can end up neglecting your family. There are a lot of negative things from this. And I think the Warframe example you mentioned was a really good example of how games can actually train us to put more time and effort into the empty things that don't provide any real life benefit.
Absolutely.
And actually harm our ability to work hard toward the things in real life that do matter. Absolutely.
Yeah. And on that same note, and this is a personal experience and something that my wife and I went through. She obviously, being married to a gamer, she has the disadvantage of I tend to prioritize gaming over her, right? That's a big struggle for a gamer, whether you're a guy or a girl, whether you're married, whether you're single. Prioritizing is one of the biggest struggles. And a lot of that is because, you're seeking either whether it's the dopamine or whether it's, I really need to relax. The biggest tip I can give you, never play games for the sole purpose of relaxing. It is not relaxing.
Nope.
There are relaxing aspects to the game, which like I said, Ori and the Blind Forest is a very relaxing game. Skyrim, incredibly relaxing. I love the sound. Yeah, the soundtrack is awesome. I could just sit there and you know how it pops out into third person and just swirls, your camera just swirls around. I could just sit there and listen to the Skyrim soundtrack for hours, right?
Oh yeah.
But the thing is, that's not actually relaxing. That's not refreshing to your mind. It's not refreshing to your body. And so be very careful to not make that the reason that you're playing, and be honest with yourself, because I told my wife plenty of times, I just need a minute away. I just need to go play a game. And that's, what I should have been saying was, because that's partially true. But I knew deep down that it wasn't, I just need to go play a game. No one needs to just go play a game.
Right.
That's not what they're there for. I knew deep down that I just wanted to be entertained and didn't have to do work to do it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, you can have those moments, if you want downtime and you're like, hey, I want to go, I just really want to go game right now.
Yeah.
I get that. Prioritize clearly, make sure and if you're single, put your life responsibilities ahead of gaming. If you're married, put your wife and your kids, whatever. It's kind of weird to say it like this, but whatever's more important than gaming, make sure and put it in front of gaming. But that's
well, you have to say that though.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So one thing that can be helpful is if you do enjoy gaming, you game a lot, every day, then if you have certain goals or criteria that you put in front of your gaming. So you say, okay, I want to game tonight. I have to play with my kids for half an hour before gaming. Like before I turn on the system every day, I want to make sure I've played half an hour with my kids.
Is that half an hour each kid? Because that's like half a day for you.
Well, you do what you think is best. Some kids prefer to play all together. Some kids prefer to play individually.
True.
If you want to spend more time with your kids, make it a priority and schedule it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't feel ashamed if you do have to schedule it out.
Well, yeah. No.
Because life is busy. Everyone, I mean, think about the last time that you found you found a friend. You met a friend that you haven't seen in a while. And you're like, "Oh, how's it going?" And they go, "Busy."
Yeah.
That's always the answer. Busy. And it could be work, it could be life, it could be school.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. It's always the answer is always busy. Don't be shameful. Don't feel ashamed if you have to schedule out time, because that is prioritizing.
Yeah. What gets measured gets managed. And if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen. Sometimes if it's on my calendar, it doesn't happen. So it just, if you have a busy life, which, if you have a pulse, chances are you have a busy life.
Busy life. Yeah.
Schedule in the important things. Like put it on your calendar and just make it a habit. Keep doing it. Let's keep moving. We've been stuck on this one for a bit, but it's important.
Important. I think they're all important. Yeah. And it's kind of funny. They all tie together, really.
They really do.
If you think about it, I mean, how long is it? Could also go to how quickly it could get started.
Yep.
How quickly can it get started can also be connected to, is it kid friendly? Because kids need to be able to start it easily.
Exactly.
Right? Next on the list.
Yeah. Can you pause it? This ties in. It's a direct correlation with, do other people rely on you while you're playing it? Like MMOs, squad-based games, raids, anything multiplayer that cannot be paused, or
Call
where
of Duty, anything like that. Yeah. Almost anything online playable. Almost anything online.
Just
playable.
about, yeah.
Because I mean, if you're not familiar with gaming, there's no real way to pause an online network, aside from and I don't want to go super in depth with technical terms, but aside from pausing the network itself, and forcing everyone to just sit there and wait, which then only one guy has control. Yeah, so it's there's no way to do that. Therefore, that means it's not pausable,
right?
Which would be, to me, would be a big no-no.
Yeah.
Because if I can't, pause this game and help my kid who just punched my other kid, well, then obviously I have to prioritize. So game's got to get set down.
Exactly. So pausability. I had to learn this lesson the hard way. I loved Mass Effect 3's multiplayer so much. Squad-based, co-op. Like all the things I love, because other people could be good and carry you, and then you weren't going up against other players who were incredibly skilled. They were helping you, so you would go up against AI. So it's it was a lot of fun. I love working together with other people to accomplish something.
The different skills and very customized.
And you all you understand your role and you move forward. And it was wave based and each match was 20 to 40 minutes maybe. And
depending on where you're at and whatnot. Yeah,
and it was so much fun. But I would play every chance I could get, and I would not be able to pause it. So if my wife was calling for me, needing my help with something, I'd be like, I can't come, they're relying on me, they need my help. So if it was important, she's building resentment toward the game and toward me for not, for getting myself in this situation where I can't just put down a game, which in the grand scheme of things is not important. It's not like I'm a pro gamer and this is our livelihood. All of the offers I've turned down, all of them. And it's not important enough to play a game that's going to prevent me from helping my family if they need it. If kids get hurt, I would play Elder Scrolls Online and play the raids. Oh, awesome. And those could also take 40 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you're playing through this whole thing and it's hey, we've got to go to this thing, or hey, so and so fell down and got hurt, or hey, they need to go to bed, and you're in the middle of a raid, well, it's I'll skip bedtime tonight. That doesn't fly.
Doesn't work.
You have to again prioritize.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and it's funny you mentioned those games, because those are actually games that I've played and thoroughly enjoyed. And prior to having dads, prior
I had a father,
prior to having kids, that's the word I meant to say. Played a lot of, and even after having kids, played a lot of. And that there was resentment built up between my wife and I, really between my wife and gaming. It wasn't me, but it was the games. And obviously I was, jumping into that. So it was my fault also. But, just be really careful because, and this is where open communication with your spouse is very key, because if you don't have kids, there's, far less chances that someone's going to fall and bust their lip, right?
Right.
Because it's only your wife. Now, if she's a klutz, then obviously don't play any of these games, because if she falls, you want to make sure you can help her. But be careful, keep an open line of communication, and talk about those things. Because, at any point, like Ryan said, I mean, these games are not important. Right. You could spend an hour playing a game and what did it gain you in the long run? Yeah. An hour playing a game.
Yeah.
You didn't, and even the guys that are making money off of it, I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
But like for their, other than financial, what did they gain?
Yeah. Well, and what if games go away?
Oh,
I mean, games won't go away.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked.
It's a bigger industry than movies now.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is wild.
That is incredibly wild.
It is wild.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, they can't call it, because, Hollywood is like, that's movies, right?
Yeah,
it's Hollywood.
It's a location.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's gaming's location?
Internet. Never mind.
Anyways, on to the next one.
You roped me into that one. So pausing it, I think that's pretty straightforward. We don't need to spend more time on that. Do you need to pay close attention to it? Does it require your full focus?
I'm too poor to pay attention.
Attention requires more than I am willing to give.
More than I've allotted to it.
Capable.
Yes.
And this is one where, like, there are games that you can just mindlessly, play in the background, or you can just run around and do whatever. Mm-hmm. Like games that require a lot of skill, and again, this ties into pausability.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there are games that you have to really focus on and really put your brain into, really think about a lot, or really pay attention to the story and read all the subtitles and just whatever. And if a child or if your wife walks in front of you, or if a child, comes and sits on your lap, or like grabs the controller, or if you get interrupted, right? How mad are you going to get because you were concentrating on something, or is it going to mess you up if you take your attention away from this for a minute, and put it somewhere else and then bounce back and forth? So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's just the reality of dadhood.
Yeah. And the flip side, and like we said, these relate to each other. Is it kid friendly? Connected to this, can kids play it? Meaning, do they have to pay close attention? Because my kids, I love my kids.
We as dads say that as a preface a lot. No, I love my kids.
I love my kids, but. No, they're young, right? They have a short attention span. I don't know of any young kids that have a long attention span.
I've not met one.
And that being said, there's plenty of games that, they're very easy. That maybe there's only a few buttons they have to push, right? Yeah. And they get the idea. They can move, right? They can, use whatever items they're using in the game. And it's very simple, right?
Yeah.
And that's something to keep in mind, whether you want your kids to play with you or you want to show them, because like I'm at the point where I like showing my 5-year-old how to play games.
Yeah.
And it's not specifically, which my wife might argue at this point, it's not specifically to play games.
Right.
It's not to learn the skills to play games. It's for him to learn the skills, how to figure things out, because he'll constantly ask me, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? I don't know, buddy. You push the buttons, see what happens. And then obviously that's usually followed with, I can't ... Right. I can't ... And then he'll hand me the controller. So no, that's not what we're doing, and so there's a lot of elements of learning, whether it's hand-eye coordination, whether it's problem solving, whether it's patience, because it could be patience as well.
Yeah.
Or whether it's endurance, just like trying it over and over until you figure it out. You know, are these games that, you know, that take way more skill or attention that kids can offer.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, games that require more and more effort, you know, for younger children, that gives them the opportunity to learn the lesson that the effort itself is what gets you to the goal.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot of studies that have proven that if you believe that your capabilities, that your ability to do something is tied to your identity, or is fixed, then you are less likely to, I mean, obviously less likely to grow, but less likely to achieve success in things that you do, whether they be academic or occupational. But then if you are praised, it's specifically tied to praise. So if you're praised for your identity, like, oh, you're so smart, you know, then you're less likely to achieve success in things, because if you come across something that you can't do well, or that takes more effort and you can't naturally succeed because of who you are, you're like, oh, well, that's not worth doing, or I'm not going to do that. Whereas if they're praised for the effort, oh, you kept trying even though that was really hard. You know, so like with the video games, you're like, no, you figure it out. And then he gets it and he's rewarded for that effort rather than like, you know, oh, you're so good at video games. Then he's going to associate effort with or value with effort. And so he's more likely to try harder when things actually matter.
Or effort, perseverance, endurance. I mean, those are all problem solving. I mean, those are all very important, and that's something that I'm trying to teach my 5-year-old. In a previous episode, I talked about, you know, him playing Astro, and him getting really. I mean, he started crying, and of course, you know, I had to sit down and be like, "Are you having fun?" Right? Yeah. No, you're not. Like, you're crying. You're not having fun. Don't look at me. Don't tell me that.
This is how I have fun.
Yeah. This is how I cry to have fun. But you know, the follow up to that was, okay, you know, if you sincerely want to keep playing, which obviously he did, he loves games, then here's what we have to do. You know, this is hard, and it's going to be hard, but if you keep trying, you will eventually get it.
Yeah.
Now, how easy can you relate that from video games to school, to athletics, to...
Hey, buddy, remember when you were playing Astro and it was really hard, but you kept trying and you got it?
Yeah.
Well, I know that this, you know, math problem is really frustrating.
I know this trigonometry.
But you're 6 years old. You should understand trig.
You should be able to get this.
It's pre-calc. It's not even real calc.
It's not rocket science.
Yet.
Jeez. Yeah, yet. Anywho.
Yeah.
That's pretty straightforward. So that's Dadable.
That's what makes game Dadable.
Yeah.
You know, is generally... At this point, you can wrap all these things into it. They're all kind of tied and connected. But you know, do you have to spend a lot of time on it to actually enjoy it? You know, can your kids be in the same room? Or are you going to like prioritize the game over your kids? It's really what it all comes down to.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So
and all of this also relates to your wife too. If you know. But
husbandable sounds stupid.
Yeah, husbandable is kind of a weird.
Yeah, so even if you don't have kids, it's still Dadable.
Almost sounds like expendable, which.
Yeah, husbands are not expendable.
Or not expendable,
despite what the world may tell you.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you're gonna play something that you think you might be embarrassed to have your wife in the same room while you're playing it,
Witcher 3.
Yeah. So. Well, yeah, there's plenty. Yeah,
I haven't played it. I would love to play Witcher 3. I've heard great things about the game.
Yeah, so I played Witcher 2, and I never ran into that. So I didn't. I was like,
I was single. I ran into it a lot.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. But either way, I played. So when the Netflix TV series came out, I was like, oh, this will be great. And my brother-in-law and my father-in-law were like, yeah, it's a great series. Let's watch it. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And of course, I don't need to go into detail, but a scene comes up, and the guy's like, "Yeah, this is a bit much," and I'm like, "That's not a bit much. This is adult film. This is ridiculous." And I've obviously never watched it since then, because which is a shame, because the story is kind of fun. Like it's from a novel. I'm pretty sure it's from a novel. So, and a lot of those novel made movies are pretty good, I think.
Can be,
you know. And so I was like, man, that's a shame because that could have been a cool series. But with most, movies these days, they've all gone too far. Which
they have.
You'll find that in video games as well. So, like I said, if you're embarrassed to have that in front of your wife, then that is not the right game. It's not Dadable.
Yep, not Dadable. So, so just be mindful, as you're moving into this next phase of your life. Mm-hmm. If you're newly married, if you're getting married, or if you have a kid on the way, that things are going to have to change, and your gaming life might become a little more Dadable centric. Dadable centric. Yeah. Let's give some game examples and discuss whether they're Dadable.
We'll do it briefly. We're actually already past our 45 minutes.
Well, let's keep talking.
Time just flies.
Yeah.
So what's your first on your list?
I didn't have a list written down.
You didn't have your list. I didn't have a list either.
Let's pick some out. So
recently, you want to do some of the co-op ones we've recently played?
Well, I mean, if we've played them, they're probably Dadable, right?
I mean that's fair.
We can discuss why they're Dadable. Or we can discuss games that we've enjoyed in the past that we've beaten that that are or are not Dadable.
Okay. I'll start.
Yeah.
So my to preface this, aside from Square Enix being by far my favorite developer, a close second would be Bethesda.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of their concept and game and art style. I really like it.
Brilliant.
However, a lot of their stuff, I would say borders on reality. It's not obviously real. Skyrim is not real. However, wait, what? However, a lot of the aspects of it are real, okay? Including, the violence, the gore, the language.
Turns out hitting someone in the head with a sword can happen in real life or video games.
It will bruise them very badly. They will have to go to the village witch doctor. Yeah. So Skyrim, I'll just start with Skyrim. Great game.
Yeah.
Awesome story.
Yep. Still play it when I can sometimes.
Absolutely. However, it's single player, so nobody can play with you. Meaning your wife, meaning your kids.
Yep.
Right. There is violence.
Yep.
So there's that element to it.
Yeah. There are Dadable aspects to it, but I wouldn't say it's a full Dadable game.
Yeah, not a full Dadable game.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Wonderful game. Yeah. One of the greats of all times. Absolutely. One of the goats, as the kids would say.
Yeah. Everything's a goat now.
Everything's a goat. Yeah. Everything is the greatest. So therefore nothing is.
Nothing is.
I'm so deep and philosophical.
Good.
Yeah. So I would say, as far as being able to pause it, nobody's relying on you.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily require a big learning curve. There's a lot you can do and get wrapped up in.
Sure.
So I would say, if we were to give it like a full, like rapid review or something,
rapid review.
It's the Dadable portion of it is probably closer to like a 5 because older kids could definitely be around it.
Absolutely.
The violence and like scary elements of like werewolves and vampires and stuff. The Draugr, like a little bit scary.
Sure.
Some of it's that way, but it's not. I would say once your kids start getting a little bit older, 12 teenagers, like not gonna bother them at all.
Yeah.
So. It's still probably like it's not something I would play with my kids in the room or awake.
Yeah.
So probably like a 4 or 5 because you can still play it as a dad for sure.
Yeah. I think it is. I think it's right in the middle because it does hit a lot of the things being pausable. It is easy to pick up. Mm-hmm. It is beatable.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a long story and it can get distracted, but it is beatable.
Yeah.
So I would have to agree. I mean, I think 5. I would probably border on 6 because. Not being able to play with your kids is relative to their age and what they can handle. So I would probably say it's more like a 6, but either way, I think right in the middle.
Fair.
I think it's good.
Now, one thing I did want to mention, not specifically game related, but it does apply to a lot of games. So the Nintendo Switch is one of the most Dadable platforms on the planet.
Very true.
Whether you can pause a game or not, you can turn the system off in a cutscene and then turn it back on and the cutscene will keep playing. That's
I didn't know that.
Dadable.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's pretty slick.
Yeah, you can be playing it on the TV, and then your kids come in and want to use the TV. You just pick up the system out of its little tray. You take it back in your room, and you can play it there, and they can watch a Disney movie or something.
Yeah. Or so if you pause it and they watch something. Yeah. Whenever they're done, you can pick it back up.
Yeah.
Like it start right back from where you were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty slick.
So lots of Dadability built into that system. Some people, may not like the selection of games. It doesn't have as many game options, and the games retain their value a lot. They do. So, if you wanted to like trade in or buy used games, you're going to still be paying top dollar for them. But it is one of the, I think, more Dadable systems, and I find myself playing it a lot.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I know this isn't extremely common anymore, but the Wii system, the Wii U and all those, they were very Dadable. Yeah. I would, if we coined the term, I would say they're familyable. Right? Because they're they're party games. They're games that like you literally just hold on to the controller, strap it to their arm because they're going to throw it, tape it to the strap, right? Like make sure that it stays in their hand. But they're moving their bodies, which kids love to do anyways. Yep. I mean, my 5-year-old, I don't know, have I showed you how he plays? So we've been playing Legos games, right? And when he jumps, for whatever reason, he takes his right leg and throws it as high as he can. And each time he jumps, he throws it higher and higher. And to the point where he's kicked me a couple times. Oh, and I'm like, wow. Buddy, hold your foot still. And it's just that's his hilarious motor function. Mm-hmm. He just, like, that's how he's comprehending the movement. But yeah, Wii games, they're great games. Yeah. So any system that gets your family together and playing things together is going to be more Dadable for sure. Xbox, PlayStation, PC, less Dadable for sure. Yeah. Much wider selection of games that you may want to play after your kids go to bed. Yeah, very true. Very true. Yeah. So another game. Yep. I've forgotten what game we just talked about because that's where my True Data Morta. Children of Morta. Well, we talked about that earlier. I mean the game we just Skyrim. That's the one. Skyrim. Wow, folks, that's where we're at. It's been that kind of a day. Yep. I'm starting a business alongside my business to help your business. To help my business. Yeah. So in case you need a business, he makes businesses. I apparently make businesses, which I mean, like I'd rather make money than businesses, but you do what you have to. You brought up Skyrim, didn't you? So I have to pick one now. Oh, that was yours. That was your point. You were going to go the Skyrim route? No. Okay. I mean, like we have to take turns, right? Otherwise you could just hog the whole episode. Yeah, we're going to run out of time, but yeah. I'll just give one more game example. So Skyrim is like an all-time classic. Yeah. Let's go with golly. One we've done. We can talk Minecraft. Minecraft, yeah. Yeah, Minecraft. That's another classic. How Dadable is Minecraft? Oh man. I would say, okay, so I'll start off with my overall rating, right? And then we can kind of break it. Well, I'll break it down my end and then you give yours. I would say it is like an 8.5 to 9. Yeah. Okay? The reason, lots of reasons here. Visually, it's not crazy stimulating, right? There's not a whole lot of things going on. Yep. So you're not overwhelming these kids with, whether it be graphic stuff like, gore, violence, whatever, yada, yada, or it's just art. Sometimes just art can be too much for their brains, right? They don't register it. They think it's fine. But it's not overly stimulating. Right. Very easy to pick up. It actually gives you, what's the word? It kind of rewards you for being creative. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I think in today's world, a lot of games don't reward you for being creative. They reward you for doing what they wanted you to do. Right. And so this sounds funny, but doing a general contract work, I do a lot of electrical, right? The electrical type setup, they call it redstone in Minecraft, is actually extremely similar to how real electrical circuits work. Okay. So, which I didn't know this going in, right? I was just like, I'm going to play with this, right? I was making actual electrical circuits in Minecraft that made me understand electrical circuits in the real world.
You can make money playing Minecraft.
Well, like, it's very learnable. I mean, it teaches things, right? Aside from that, you can pause it at any time. Now, obviously, there's servers, and if you're playing online with anybody, like we said, people then rely on you, or it can't be paused because it's online.
Right.
But if you're playing locally, whether with a kid, which I do think it's very kid friendly as far as them playing with you, or you're just playing by yourself, it's easily pausable.
Yeah.
And on top of that, even if you're playing live, you can build a block house around yourself real quick and then walk away for 30 minutes, and odds are you'll be there when you get back.
Yeah.
So I think 8.5, 9. I think it's a very high score on datability.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say, definitely, especially the creative mode, you could totally play with a kid and just have fun building, and like they get to express their creativity. It would be a lot of fun to do something like that. And then even if there are mobs and things, then, you can teach them the lesson, like, what, it's a game. And if if your character dies, you just start playing again.
Yeah. It's just a game.
It's not that big of a deal. And then like you said, it's not overly stimulating. There's not a lot of rapid movement and changes, which can be, harmful for mood and behavior. And so I would definitely put it probably around the same, probably 8.5. If you are online and the chat is on, 0.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because there are kids playing the game and like dropping as many cuss words as you could possibly imagine, and racial slurs and all sorts of offensive things.
Or people posing as kids. I mean, with anything online, you have to be careful that the community online, not in Minecraft specifically, but in just online,
the worst of the internet,
very toxic, right? So
they're the worst of the world is on the internet, actually.
The internet, So that's why you found us in a library.
Exactly. You should never trust anything you see online.
Yep.
Yep.
We're professionals. We know this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You should never trust anything.
Good thing you're listening to this and not seeing it.
Exactly. So, listening to Spotify doesn't count as being on the internet.
Yep. Nope. It's on your phone.
Yep. It's different.
Anyways, yeah. So those are just a couple examples of what we see as Dadable. We are going to start doing rapid reviews as well as just regular game reviews at some point.
Yep.
We'll figure that out, what that looks like. If you have some games you'd like us to either do a rapid review or regular game review, get our maybe what little information we may have on it, get our input on a game to see if it might be Dadable, or at least our perspective.
Yeah.
Feel free to message us. DM us, as the kids say these days.
Yeah.
And we'll gladly do a rapid review or a full game review. We'll check it out, give our input. Now, obviously, if per the title or description we think it's not Dadable, like, we're probably not even going to try it.
Yeah.
We may give a rapid review and say it's not Dadable, but fair warning, we will use our discretion.
Yep, indeed.
So, but anywho, that's Dadable.
That's Dadable.
It's super crystal clear. Hopefully everyone understands. Now, when you see our review, either rapid reviews or regular reviews, and we say Dadable, you'll understand what we're talking about.
Yep. So, and if you watch one of those and you haven't seen this, watching the end of this now, hearing this, then watch all of this so that you understand what it means.
Yeah. Or listen.
Yeah, listen, yeah.
Yeah, at the library.
At the library. In Braille.
In Braille. Hey friends, thanks for listening to this episode of Just Chatting with True Dad Materia. If you enjoyed this or would like to hear a specific topic covered, make sure to comment. And of course, to help support our channel and stay in touch with the latest content, be sure to subscribe or follow depending on your platform. If you want to follow our gaming shenanigans, you can find us on Twitch at True Dad Materia. Thanks, and in True Dad fashion, save early and save often.